Hey friends, how's it going? In this video, I'm going to recap from 2026 titled, The Confession. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The film begins in LB, Texas. Deep in the forest, we see an elderly man dragging a plastic tub filled with Bibles. He stops near a lake and records a haunting message on a tape recorder, leaving behind his final words for his daughter Naomi. When he's done, the man walks into the water and quietly surrenders his life to the depths. 9 years later, we meet Naomi, now a worn-out bar singer, barely getting by. Night after night, she performs the same tired songs to an audience that hardly pays attention. Her career is fading, and she drowns her frustration in alcohol, trying to numb the disappointment of a life that didn't turn out the way she hoped. The next morning, Naomi is jolted awake by her young son, Dylan. He complains about his babysitter and begs her to take him back to their old life in California. Later, while they're outside, Dylan notices their goat, Samos, and walks over to pet her. At the same time, Naomi's friend Grayson arrives and the two begin talking, but suddenly Samos turns aggressive and bites Dylan. A terrified Naomi rushes her son to the hospital. Grayson stays close and offers help as the police begin looking into the strange incident. Soon after, life settles into a tense kind of normal. Back at home, Naomi tries to hold things together, teaching Dylan how to play the piano, though the unease from that day still lingers in the air. Later that night, Naomi tucks Dylan into bed, but instead of falling asleep, he starts complaining about strange noises and whispering voices he hears in the dark. During the conversation, it becomes clear that Dylan's father is no longer in their lives. Trying to comfort him, Naomi tells Dylan to close his eyes and imagine his dad so he can see him whenever he wants. To prove that there's nothing to be afraid of, Naomi heads up into the dark attic. As she searches around, she discovers a hole in the wall containing old photographs of her husband and her mother, a cigarette box, and several CDs. She then comes across a hidden box. Inside, she finds a mysterious cassette tape, bark fragments, and a key. Unable to sleep later that night, Naomi plays the tape. She hears her father's voice, calm but heavy with guilt, confessing to a horrific crime, the murder of a man named Royce Cobb. It's the same recording he made at the very beginning of the film. He warns Naomi that if rats ever start appearing on the property, it means the danger has returned. He also reveals that Cobb's body is buried somewhere on the land meant to protect the next generation. Shaken but curious, Naomi steps outside and begins searching the property for the burial site. Her search is cut short when the light suddenly flicks on in Dylan's room. Alarmed, she rushes upstairs and finds Dylan awake. He tells her his body feels strange, like something else is slowly starting to take control of his mind. The next morning, as they sit down for breakfast, Naomi notices something unsettling in the garden. A rat. The omen from the tape has appeared. At the same time, Dylan admits that every day feels wrong, saying it feels like something is happening inside his brain, and he doesn't understand what it is. Later, Naomi listens to the tape again and searches online for Royce Cobb. To her confusion, she discovers that Cobb was never declared dead. He's still officially listed as a missing person. Disturbed by what she finds, Naomi goes into the garden, digging in the same spot where she saw the rat earlier. Beneath the soil, she uncovers a buried symbol shaped like a cross. Later that day, while waiting to pick Dylan up from school, Naomi notices a strange woman nearby. The woman suddenly points at her and whispers, "It's you," before walking away, leaving Naomi shaken. That night, Naomi falls asleep in front of the television. When she wakes up, Dylan is gone from his bed. Panic sets in as she searches the house and finally finds him downstairs, standing in a trance, quietly playing with a lamp. As Naomi watches, a dark shadow moves along the walls. She's suddenly pulled into a horrifying nightmare, one where Cobb drags Dylan away from her. Naomi jolts awake in a cold sweat, realizing that her father's buried past is now coming after her son. The next morning, Naomi returns to the recordings, listening closely and dissecting every word. She looks up Grayson online and, realizing she can't face this alone anymore, invites him over for dinner. As they eat, the conversation slowly shifts from small talk to painful memories. Naomi opens up about her past, revealing how both her husband and his father were killed in a truck collision while traveling. What once felt like a tragic coincidence now seems far more sinister since returning to the house. She also tells Grayson about Dylan's disturbing changes, how he's begun acting far older than his age, speaking in riddles, and no longer feeling like the child she once knew. Grayson remains skeptical until Naomi tells him about her father's recorded confession. As they're talking, Dylan suddenly stands up and walks out of the house without saying a word. Grayson suggests Naomi might be reading too much into everything, but the look on his face shows even he's starting to feel unsettled. The next day, Dylan's behavior grows even more disturbing. He silently boards the school bus without reacting to Naomi at all. Back at home, Naomi stays behind, going over her notes again and trying to make sense of what's happening. Later, Grayson arrives with new information. He tells Naomi he spent the entire night researching Royce Cobb and discovered that Cobb had a daughter. He's brought her along with him. As soon as Naomi sees the woman, she recognizes her. It's the same woman from the school parking lot. The woman introduces herself as Llewellyn and begins sharing a disturbing history. She explains that her father once abandoned their family, only to return years later as a violent, unrecognizable man. He would disappear at night and come back covered in blood, and soon after, slaughtered animals would start appearing in their backyard. Cobb became obsessed with a writer he believed he owed a debt to, and his refusal to follow the town's religious customs eventually turned the community against him. Llewellyn warns Naomi that Cobb's spirit is restless and that he will not let go. Later, Naomi confides in Grayson that the man from her nightmare was without a doubt Royce Cobb. The situation takes an even darker turn when the school principal calls. Dylan has brought a severed goat's head into the classroom for a school event. He isn't expelled, but the principal makes it clear Dylan is no longer fitting in and his behavior is becoming a serious concern. Naomi storms into the school, furious. She confronts the principal for ignoring the bullying her son has been facing and defends Dylan without hesitation before pulling him out of class and taking him home. Once there, Naomi asks Dylan where he found the goat's head. Calmly, almost casually, Dylan says he found it in the forest. He then reveals it belonged to Samos, the same goat that bit him. Naomi's blood runs cold when Dylan quietly adds that he likes cutting off heads and that he wants to keep them with him every day. That night, Naomi notices something strange in Dylan's room, a small hidden studio space. When she asks to go inside, Dylan tells her he only enjoys the company of his grandfather's friend. Alarmed, Naomi asks who he's been meeting, but Dylan simply says the man appears out of nowhere. Frozen with fear, Naomi stays the night in Dylan's room. When morning comes, Dylan is gone. She searches the house in panic until she finds a figure lying under a sheet on a bed. Believing it's her son, Naomi steps closer only to hear Dylan's voice behind her. She turns back to the bed and realizes the truth. The figure beneath the sheet isn't Dylan, it's Royce Cobb. Horrified, Naomi reacts on instinct. She grabs Dylan and retreats to his room without saying a word, staying awake all night to guard him, unable to sleep even for a moment. The next morning, Naomi wakes to find her alarm turned off and Dylan already gone for school. Panic surges through her until Grayson arrives. He brings old photographs and documents with him and demands the full truth. He makes it clear they can no longer ignore the confession Naomi's father left behind or the murder it describes. Exhausted from hiding the truth, Naomi finally confesses everything to Grayson and leads him to the patch of garden where she uncovered the buried cross. Grayson believes this may be Cobb's final resting place. And if all of these events are connected, then there has to be a pattern behind the haunting, one they can still uncover. They head to the spot where Dylan claimed he found the goat's head. There, carved into a tree, they notice a strange symbol. Naomi pulls out a piece of bark she had saved earlier, and when she presses it against the carving, it fits perfectly, revealing the number 13. That number triggers a memory. Naomi recalls that her grandfather, the man who built the house, often used Freemason symbols and codes in his designs. She retrieves the original blueprints, and together she and Grayson begin tracing the numbers and lines. Slowly, a shape forms, a triangle pointing directly to the center of the dining room. They pry open the floorboards beneath it and uncover Naomi's long-lost locket. That discovery leads Grayson to a chilling conclusion. Whatever this force is, it's tied specifically to Naomi and Dylan. Running away won't break the connection. Suddenly, a sharp, jarring noise draws their attention to another hidden compartment. Inside is something far worse: human bones, each marked with distinct letters. When they rearrange them, the letters spell out a single name: Harling. Naomi immediately recognizes it as the name of a close associate of her father from their church days. With no other options left, they take everything they found to Officer Armour. He listens carefully and records their statement, confirming that Royce Cobb was a known criminal. Promising to escalate the case, the officer assures them the investigation is no longer just personal. It's now official. But the terror follows them home. Without warning, the television suddenly blasts Naomi's father's recording at full volume, while scratching noises echo from the attic above. Naomi cautiously climbs the stairs and is met with a horrifying sight. The severed head of the goat is mounted on the attic wall. Inside, she finds Dylan standing in a catatonic trance. The room is alive with movement. Thousands of rats swarm across the floor and crawl along the walls, surrounding him completely. Naomi rushes forward to reach her son, but the rotted plywood beneath her feet gives way, trapping her leg. As she struggles, she notices a chilling message carved into the wall. The debt becomes due. Barely managing to free herself, Naomi escapes the advancing rats and pulls Dylan to safety. Shaken and desperate for answers, she immediately contacts Harling, confronting him about the bones in the recording. Harling finally reveals the truth. Back in the 1950s, a land dispute led to a dark and secret pact involving a man known as Piper, who kidnapped children. The deal was simple and horrifying. 5 lives for 5 acres of land. Only 2 children survived, Naomi's father and Royce Cobb. The rest were slaughtered. Years later, Cobb fell under the influence of black magic and turned to Naomi's father for help, suffering from violent seizures he couldn't control. Naomi's father came to believe they were all trapped in a 3-dimensional cycle, one that could only be broken by paying the debt in blood. Harling leaves Naomi with a terrifying warning. She must watch Dylan every second because the darkness that once consumed Cobb is now coming for her son to collect what is owed. The tension snaps when Naomi and Grayson hear screams outside. It's Llewellyn, Cobb's daughter. She's discovered the truth that her father was murdered by Naomi's father. Before Naomi can respond, her phone rings. It's a frantic call from the school. Dylan never arrived that morning. Naomi insists she dropped him off herself, but Dylan is nowhere to be found. Shattered, Naomi immediately calls 911 and meets with Officer Armour, explaining that Dylan's disappearance may be connected to the supernatural forces and forbidden religious texts her father once obsessed over. Officer Armour reveals that Dylan isn't the only child missing. One of his classmates, Nathan, has also vanished. While the officer suspects a simple runaway case, Naomi knows this is something far darker. Refusing to wait, Naomi and Grayson head into the woods to search for Dylan, but they come across the carcasses of 2 pigeons. Brutally killed, the sight destroys Naomi's last hope of a normal explanation. Grayson mentions that most locals consider Harling a madman. But as night falls and the air grows unnaturally cold, Harling arrives, prepared to perform a ritual to communicate with the spirits. After completing it, he delivers devastating news. The spirit has taken Dylan. According to Harling, there is only one way to save him. Naomi must undergo a traditional biblical baptism in the nearby lake. With no other choice left, Naomi follows Grayson and Harling to the nearby lake. Without hesitation, she plunges into the freezing water. Beneath the surface, she experiences a vision of her late husband, who pleads with her to save their son, no matter the cost. When Naomi finally surfaces, gasping for air, she realizes she's completely alone. Grayson and Harling are gone. Guided by instinct, Naomi pushes deeper into the forest until she comes across a decaying, isolated house hidden among the trees. She remembers Harling's warning that spirits are drawn to places abandoned by the living. Using the mysterious key she found in her father's box, Naomi unlocks the door and steps inside. The house is thick, with the smell of rotten and neglect. As she moves through the dark halls, she hears Dylan's voice calling out. Suddenly, she's forced to hide when Piper appears. Staying silent, Naomi waits for her chance and eventually makes her way down into the basement. There, she sees the same chilling words written across the walls. The dead is due. She reaches a locked door and hears Dylan's muffled cries coming from the other side. Piper has trapped him inside. As Naomi desperately tries to break the lock, Piper returns, sensing someone is there. She hides in the shadows as he approaches the door. Mistaking him for his mother, Dylan calls out from inside the room. With no time left, Naomi lunges at Piper. A brutal struggle breaks out in the tight, dark basement. Summoning every ounce of strength she has, Naomi manages to shove Piper back, unlock the door, and pull Dylan and the other missing children out to safety. But the terror isn't over yet. Piper recovers and suddenly attacks Naomi, knocking her unconscious. He then turns his attention to the children, chasing them through the dark, decaying house. Moments later, Naomi regains consciousness and struggles back to her feet. She makes her way outside and runs into the woods, where she finds Piper by the lake with the children. She charges at him, but Piper quickly overpowers her and pulls her into the water, holding her under as her strength begins to fade. As she nears the edge of consciousness, Naomi has another vision. She hears her late husband's voice, steady and familiar, urging her not to give up. Through the murky water, she notices her locket catching the light, a reminder of what she's trying to protect. With renewed effort, Naomi turns the fight around. She forces Piper down and holds him there, refusing to let go until he stops moving. As everything begins to go dark, Harling and Grayson arrives in time. They pull Naomi out of the water, saving her and rescuing Dylan before it's too late. The next morning arrives with a fragile sense of calm. Naomi wakes to find Grayson asleep nearby in a chair. Dylan seems completely normal again, free at last from the spirit's grip. But the horror hasn't ended. It has only changed its shape. By killing Piper and crossing into that dark realm, Naomi has unknowingly become vulnerable to his influence. Harling is the first to understand the terrifying truth. The spirit doesn't just target children, it uses adults, taking advantage of their authority to control others. Piper's true plan is finally revealed. He wanted to create a world where children are left without parents, condemned to grow up in pain and abandonment, just as he once was. In the film's chilling final moments, Naomi, now fully possessed, begins leading the townspeople toward the lake. Her voice is calm, her presence reassuring as she gently guides them into the water, intent on dragging them all into the depths together. Somewhere behind her, Dylan calls out for his mother, but she is already gone. And that's where the story ends. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a story like this. See you later.